Hi guys, and welcome to another Bootstrap 4 video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, today we're going to build this little slide-in email form here. It's a little email pop-up. It'll stay exactly where it is when you scroll down the site because it's fixed, it's sticky, it's fixed to the side there. Pretty easy to do, so let's go ahead and do it. I'm working with Bootstrap 4 here. We created this site, and in the root folder of this site, here's the index.html that we're working on right now. And we've got a custom CSS file that goes with it for the styles. We'll be working with that today also. And if I open this, you're going to need a text editor. If you don't have one, there's a great free one called Brackets you can download from a link below this video. That's the one I'll be using today. But any text editor will do. So I've opened this up in our Brackets text editor right here. Got our index.html, which is the HTML code, and the custom CSS, which funnily enough is the CSS code. So I'll go in and undo what I've got here. And we'll build this one from scratch right here. So on our index.html page, if I go down to where I was, let's make this full screen. That's convenient, it's still highlighted. I'm just going to delete that. Control S to save. And in our custom CSS, right at the bottom here it is email sliding. And we'll start from scratch and build this from scratch. There we go, and Control S to save that also. So let's go back to our site. I'll move the editor to a different screen over here. Now when I refresh, this should disappear. Okay, there we are, it's gone, it's no longer on the site. So what I need to do, the first thing I need to do is I'm going to create a div, I guess, above the pre-footer here, and I'm just going to make the form itself. So I'm going to go in here to my text editor, and I want to be on the HTML for this, and I'm going to add a new section. And I'm going to give this section a class. It's basically a name by which we can target it. And I'll call it emside for side email. How's that sound? That'll work. Close the little tag afterwards. And within that, I'm going to add a div. And with Divi, once you create an opening div or section, it'll create the closing one for you. And inside here, I want a Bootstrap form, just a basic Bootstrap form. I'm using an extension with brackets. You can go down to Extension Manager. And the one that I'm using today, if I go to my Installed tab, I think is Bootstrap 4 snippets. These are all free. You can go there and you just go to the available, type in Bootstrap and download the ones you want. You see, you can install there. But I've already got mine installed. I need to cancel that. So with it, I can just type in a short code and it'll bring up the form, the HTML for me. So I want BS4 form, and I think the short code was underscore contact right there. There we go. There we go, and it outputs the HTML for a form for me, which is great. And let's just take this section and I'm going to hit beautify, which is another extension you put on this, and it'll just make it, saves me going in there and jigging it so everything's in the right position. There we go. Okay, so we've got our section and we've got our form. Let's go and have a look at it. Control S to save. Now when I refresh this, our little form should be in here. There'll be no styling on it, so it'll look pretty ugly. It's not in a container or anything. Okay, I'm using Google Chrome here, so I'm going to start doing some CSS using the great Google Chrome Inspector. So let's hit F12 to get the inspector up. Here it is down the bottom. I'm going to bring it up a little bit so we can see what's going on. And the CSS code I'll write today, I'll put under the video. I can't put the HTML there because it won't let me. But the CSS I'll put down there, so don't worry about copying it while I'm doing it in real time. Alright, so let's have a look. The first thing I want to do is make sure we're on our section that we want here. And we called that section emside. Here it is, emside. Alright. So this section, give it a fixed width or a bit of padding first because everything's buffered up against the side there. So I'm going to say padding 20 pixels, and that will give it 20 pixels padding all round, which is perfect. As you can see, it's just giving it a bit of breathing space there. I want to give it a fixed width, so I'm going to say width, say 350 colon 350 pixels, and as you can see, that's made it a lot shorter there. And I'll give it a background color so we can see it a lot better. So let's go down to the next one. I'll say background. I'll put it in light blue. You can put in what you want, obviously. Mine's just for an example, that way we can see it. That's great. So let's just copy this bit of CSS that we've got here. Padding, width and background, because when I refresh this, Control C, this will go back to its default state until we write it into the custom CSS. So from our root folder, here's our custom CSS. I'm going to open it with brackets. It's actually open already. I'm going to go down to the bottom. I'm at the bottom. I'm going to put a title in so it's easier to find, // back up in between the two stars. Put in your title. Now we gave our section a class emside, I believe. I'll make sure that's correct or it won't work. Yeah, emside, there it is. Because it's a class, we need to put a dot in front of it, so I've put the dot in front of it. I need to open and close some curly brackets. And in between them, I'll paste in that CSS code we copied from the browser. There we go. Now when I save it, we'll go back to our site. Refresh, that'll go back to being blue and 350 pixels wide. Great. So we can actually see it now, which is fantastic. Okay, what I want to do now is I'm going to stay here with this open. I might have to pump that up a little bit. I'm going to give it a fixed position. I'm going to push it over to the right hand side and stick it up against the right hand side here. So to do that, I want to add position. You may see it disappear while I'm doing this. Colon fixed. That's fine. And I'm going to say bottom. I'll say 0 for the time being. That's 0 pixels. That's right on the bottom. And I want it to be on the right hand side. So I'm going to say right colon 0. Also, there we are. It's fixed to the right hand side there. Put a little colon after that. Let's just copy those three new entries into our style sheet. Doesn't matter if you put them on the top or the bottom. I'm going to add them to the top of mine. Save that. It just makes it permanent right away. Now what I want to do, I want to add a font awesome, a little email icon to this. Now we're using font awesome on this site already. If you want to learn how to do that, watch my font awesome video. I'll put the URL for that down below also. It's really easy to add these great fonts to your Bootstrap site, no problem at all. Okay, I've noticed something there. When we roll over that, you see that slider at the top is going over the top of there, so we can adjust that with a Z index. Let's do that right now. Now I've got it in mind. So I'm going to say Z index colon, and I'm going to give it a huge number. So hopefully now when I slide up, That's right, it's going to sit on top there. Fantastic. So let's just copy that into our CSS. Like I say, it doesn't matter if you put it on the top or the bottom. Let's just tidy that up a little bit. And save. Okay, like I said, let's go and get our font awesome. I've already got it loaded on this site. Watch the video if you don't know how to do it. It's really easy. Okay, so I'm going to font awesome. I'm going to go to icons. Here's the icon list. I'm going to look at the free ones, and I'm going to type in email at the top here. Great. I'm going to use this one right here. Just left clicked on it, and there's the short code, and you can click on it and it'll copy the code for you. Now I need to put it into our site, so let's just get rid of this a moment. I want to put it just above the name there, so I'll put it inside our section, which is the blue background area here. So let's get our brackets up to our HTML. Here's our section. So I'm just going to put it, I'm going to go down one from the section at the top here. I'm going to add a new div, so there's a little bit of separation between it and the form. And I'm simply going to paste that icon in there. I'm going to tab that over just a little bit. Control S to save, back to the site. Now when I refresh, we should have that little envelope icon right about there. Let's refresh. There it is. Okay, great. Well, let's go about styling that the way we want it, because what I want it to do is I want it to be over here, so we can use it as a handle to pull out this form when we scoot it over. So to target this, if I right click on it and inspect it, again with Google Chrome, it's emside is the section it's in, and it's an I, so it's emside I to target this actual thing. So let's see what we want to do with it. I want to make it a lot bigger for a start. So let's say font size, let's give it a font size. Say 50 pixels, that's pretty big. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. That's absolutely fine. And we'll say, we'll give it a blue color that we've got going on here. So let's just inspect this a moment. I'll copy that font color. Let's go back to our icon, inspect that again. Underneath, I'm going to say color, and paste in that bit of hex code that I just copied. So it's now that blue color. Fantastic. Now I'm going to want to give it a background color of white, so it's got something around it, because if it's just blue over here, we're going to lose it if we have it on a blue section. If I give it a white background, you'll still see the blue over the white, and you'll still see the blue with a white background when it goes over here. So let's do that. I'm going to say background white, which is FFF, or you could just put in white if you wanted to. Now you see it's got some background top and bottom there, but none left and right. So I'll give it a bit of padding. I think I'll give it 0 top and bottom and 5 left and right. That should make a sort of similar amount all the way around. So let's try that. Padding. First number will be top and bottom, so I'm going to put 0. Space, and then let's put 5 pixels, and that'll be left and right. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. And let's just round off those corners a little bit so it looks a bit more like that envelope. So I'll say border radius, and let's give it 5 pixels. Yeah, that's perfect. That works for me. Now let's write this into our CSS, and remember, we've got to make our class for this. We've got to say emside I. Let's get in our brackets. Let's go to our custom CSS. Below our last one, let's just drop down after the last curly bracket. Write the same thing. Dot, because it's a class, emside. Now emside I, so we're targeting that icon. Open and close some curlies. In between, let's paste the code that we copied from the browser. There it is. Control S to save. Now we can go back in here and we can refresh, and it should stay exactly like it is. Fantastic. Okay, I now want to pull this font over here so we can use it as a handle in a minute. So to do that, I needed to give it some left margin and with a negative value. So we'll say margin left. Let's give it, say, -50 and see what that does. -50 pixels. Yeah, it's not going to be enough. Let's do -100. Maybe too much. Make that -100. Yeah, I think that's going to work. See, when we scroll up and down, you can see it over the blue, you can see it over the white, you can see it over the image there. So I think that's going to work fine. Let's just copy that, put it into our style sheet. Like I say, it doesn't matter if you put it at the top or the bottom. I just happen to be putting it at the top. Control S, or at least in this case it doesn't matter. That's fine. Right, now what we want to do, let's get rid of this inspector at the minute. That's pretty good. We can do everything. Now we need to hide it. And to do that, I'm going to get the section. And on the right hand side, I'll give it a margin, a negative value. Now I know it's 350 wide, so I should be able to give it -350. So let's just try that. I'm going to inspect again and we'll try it out. That's the great thing about the inspector. You can try things out with it before writing it into your actual site. So I said we're going to give it a margin right -350. Colon -350 pix. How's that? That's fine. It's gone. You can't see it. Great. But you're thinking, well, how are they going to get it back? Well, we're going to create a hover effect for it that's going to bring it back. So I'm going to copy that margin right 350. And I'm sure you know what I'm going to do with it. That's right, copy it into my style CSS right here. I want this one, it's in our actual section. It's fine. Now, save that back to the site and everything should be exactly as we want it. Refresh. That's there, great, it stays there, that's great, but I can't get to the email. So all we need to do is go back into our CSS and create a hover state. So I'm going to copy this emside right here. I'm going to go down just below it, above the other one, because I like to keep these things together if it's a hover version. Paste it in there. Now no gap, that's really important. No gap, colon, no gap, then hover. Open and close some curlies. And I'm just going to put margin right. I'm going to set that back to 0. And that should bring that form out level with the side there. So let's save that. Control S. Back to the site, refresh. See if it's going to work for us. There we go. Now that's darting out. It's instantly doing it. We could add a little transition to slow it down just a little bit. So let's do that. Just add a bit of transition time to slow it down a bit. You've got to be a bit careful. If you add too much, it can flicker in and out, because when you get to the gap between the icon and the form itself, it sort of flickers a bit. But let's give it a little bit so it's not quite so instant. So on the EM side, not the hover one, the actual regular one, let's say transition, and it's in milliseconds, so let's say 0.25 seconds, which would be quarter of a second, semicolon. Let's save that. Back to the site. Let's refresh. Now let's have a go. There we go. Looks a bit less sort of jerky. There we go. Like I say, you have to be a bit careful about, if you give it too much, it gets stuck just beyond, sort of jiggles in and out there if you give it too much. But I think 0.25 makes it smoothly slide in and out, which is good. Okay, so there we have it. Let's just make sure it's going to work on a mobile and a tablet. So if I hit the F12 again to get the inspector up, let's pull this down a little bit. Let's hit that. What have we got here? We've got it on an iPad. Yeah, that's fine. What about an iPhone? Again, yep, that's going to work fine. And it stays there. If you decide it's too intrusive for you on a phone or something, you can always disable it with a media query, or move it, shift it around however you want. So I'm happy with that. I think that works well. So there you have it. That's how to create a slide-in email form with a bit of CSS and Bootstrap. I hope you've enjoyed that and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're interested in web development, take a look down below. We've got some great free web development courses down there, as well as some premium courses with some huge discounts for our YouTube subscribers. So do check it out. Once again, this has been Jamie with System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.